Welcome to Depth Over Noise. Most of what reaches us in a day is surface. Fast-moving, demanding, often anxious. We become very good at reacting to it and very tired from doing so. There is another kind of life available to us, and it is the life of calmness, a life I want this podcast to point to, a level of living which is more settled from within. Make an analogy, think of the ocean. The surface is rarely still, but just as few meters down, the water is calm. 100 meters down, the water is silent. The deepest currents are completely undisturbed, and yet they are what moves the whole. Our minds are like that. The surface of thinking is busy, but underneath every thought there is a quieter level, the source from which the thought itself arises. And this podcast is an invitation to go there, not to escape the noise of life, but to find depths from which life is best lived. My guest today is someone who has built an entire career around a particular kind of caring for people in the second half of their lives. Dwayne Clark, such a joy to have you. It's wonderful to be with you. The founder, chairman, and chief executive officer of Aegis Living. Under his leadership, Aegis has overseen the care of more than 80,000 seniors across more than 30 communities. Dwayne is also the co-author with Hal Elrod of The Miracle Morning After 50. In that book, he adapted the well-known science-based approaches to longevity, brain health, and meaningful connection, specifically for adults over 50. Dwayne, welcome again to Depth Over Noise. It is good to have you here.
I'm excited. Thank you, Tony, for having me.
Wonderful. Dwayne, you've said you may not be able to predict how you die, but you can shape the way you live. That essence is in many ways the heart of my book, The Power of Caring. Before we go anywhere, tell me what taught you that?
Well, I think a lot of it is my own experience. Growing up in the business world, trying to build a world-class company, you go 900 miles an hour, right? And no one tells you to slow down. People are looking at shareholder value. They're looking at how much revenue you have. They're looking at your P&Ls, your balance sheet, and so on. And so every day you get up with this, you want to charge into this, right? And about 15 years ago, I had a medical crisis after coming off a 3-day retreat with my executives who were much younger than me. And I was trying to keep up with them. And it really made me think about my life and if I was leading it in a conscious way. And I know you so much relate to that word consciousness, right? But it's maybe overused but undervalued. And what I had to understand is this the life I want to live? Do I want to get up at 5 o'clock in the morning and do conference calls with people that I barely knew? And it had me really sit down and journal and think about what life I want to live. I rarely take a meeting before 10 a.m. in the morning now, because I think that, there's so many other things I want to do: meditate, work out, go in the sauna, spend time with my family. So a lot of it is consciousness. About 2 or 3 people a year, I try to dramatically change their health. There's a young man that came to me, one of my employees, and said, "Hey, I'm really struggling with my health. His blood pressure was out of control. His blood sugar, he was type 2 diabetic. He couldn't sleep." And in 7 days, through having him journal everything that he did, his blood pressure in 7 days is normal. His blood sugar is normal in 7 days. And, we can get into the how and the why of that. But so much of it is living consciously, is just thinking about what am I doing that hurts myself? And what are the things I can do that will make my life be one of calm and fulfillment and gratitude?
This is wonderful because we want to help, we want to care, we want to take care of things, and caring and obligation sometimes they don't go together so well. So When caring becomes, chronic and unbalanced, extended caring shifts the body from recovery mode to chronic stress, causing people to lose the feeling of caring. This is part of an emotional strain that affects us, showing why recovery matters for caregivers. So it's very important that you address this. I have a big chapter on this in my book. What's the difference between caregivers who burn out, in your experience, and those who don't? What do you see in them, the difference?
Well, first of all, you have to realize caregiving is an extremely difficult physical and mental strain on your body. And so you have to realize what you're signing up for. It goes back to the consciousness of what you're doing. And so the people that don't burn out are people that take healthy breaks, that realize they need help, that ask for help. And they're usually people who are purpose driven, that this is a mission for them. The people that sign up for caring, whether it's their employment or whether it's a family member that have to do it, become resentful. And I can't tell you, Tony, how many times, I've seen a family member that's caring for a resident, sometimes firstborn daughter that's 22 years younger, that comes in and says, yeah, I've been caring for my mom for 5 years, and I'm going to choose to care for her to her death. And the daughter actually dies before the mom, because
Wow.
the strain of the caring is so significant that they actually pass away sooner. So I think the people that are successful at caring do so because there's a fulfillment and a mission and a passion, but they also are very conscious that I need to give myself a time out because this is hard work.
So we have to care for ourselves, so because we can give only what we have. So if we are tired, if we are exhausted, if we are overwhelmed, then this is what we project: tiredness, exhaustion, and overwhelm. Do you have any techniques or special advice for caregivers that families can use at home?
Yeah, I think, first of all, the burden of caring for a family member should not ever fall on one person. Ironically, I'm going through this right now with my wife and her mother. And I went through it with my own mother, where my sister was her primary caregiver. So I've done this on a personal level as well as a professional level. The first thing, as I've said already, is it should not fall on one person. You have to look for places and timeouts. You need a respite from the caregiving time that you spend, whether that's taking a vacation for 2 weeks, or even a daily respite of deep breathing and meditation, and workouts. You've got to get away from the intensity of the caregiving. There's all kinds of great books out there and so on. The 24-hour caregiver. I mean, I wrote a personal book that was about my journey with my mother called My Mother, My Son. That's given many people a lot of benefit and comfort in just giving my own personal experience. So the biggest tip is you got to share the burden and you got to take care of yourself. It's like the old expression, when the oxygen mask drops, put it on yourself before you do your child. And the other thing that happens, Tony, and I've seen this so often, is if the burden becomes too great, the caregiver becomes angry and resentful. And then the care that they're giving is not loving care. It's angry care. It's resentful care. And so no one wins in that situation.
Do you have like a personal reset after a tough day, for example?
Oh, yeah. I'm a big person that's into meditation. I practice TM. I do guided meditation. I actually teach a guided meditation course with my staff on Zoom. I come home in deep breathing. But I think one of the things that's most powerful for me, and Japan does such a great job of this, is being in nature. If you go into a physician's office in Tokyo and say, I have high blood pressure, I'm sure you know this. They'll write you a prescription to go walk in nature and get the oxygen of walking in the forest and the nature. We are humans that are part of nature. So being connected, I'm at my home right now. My wife is a phenomenal gardener, and we have beautiful gardens. So being in those gardens brings me peace. We have a meditation garden in our home. So I go in the meditation garden and do my meditation, but I'm in nature. I'm in the elements. I'm getting that great oxygen that my body and my cells so desperately need.
Beautiful. The nature outside, which opens our awareness to the beauty, the harmony of life, and also within, transcending, as you beautifully said, which means going beyond, going to the source of energy that we have within us. All these routines are very important. And as you say, they're described in your book. I have a lot in mind, but it has been shown that the nervous system responds to those, and it shows that What matters, of course, is traditional support from various cultural, secular, and spiritual systems. But basically, those simple routines have been supported with scientific application, scientific research, and also supported by traditional secular, but also spiritual techniques. Why did you and Hall write Miracle Morning after 50? What were the over 50s missing?
Well, we have so many similar kind of philosophies in terms of the meditation and the scribing and the exercise. I'm a big manifester. I have a cork board that's 7 feet tall and 3.5 feet wide in my bathroom that I look at every day. That's got my manifesting on it. So, the whole visualization thing and the savers. So, our ideas just align. But when we started talking about it, people are so busy with their lives up until 50. You're really focused on your career, you're focused on your children, you're focused on your marriage, and you really start to forget yourself, right? And this is what so resonated with people. I'm shocked, it became a USA bestseller and LA Times bestseller very quickly. And I was shocked at some of the emails and comments I got, like, oh, I so need this at this time of my life, right? Because people have forgotten themselves. They need to care for themselves. And I think what I found is today's society, we kind of swim in a river of toxicity, and it's hard to get out of it. You turn on the news, you get in traffic, there's road rage, you go in the office, there's gossip. We swim in this river of toxicity that you're just like, man, I need to get out of this at some point. And so providing a little off ramp for that river of toxicity sometimes is so helpful. And so we just felt there was a huge need for people on the second half of their life that had been so focused on others to focus on themselves.
Beautiful. As you know, we promote and teach transcendental meditation. We have done so much research on it, and one of the things examples we give is like for a tree to blossom in all of its qualities, its roots have to be deep in the ground and be able to pull on the nutrients and the power. And the roots are hidden, so they are inside. And so connecting to the self is so important. It's not really hiding or running away. It's actually giving ourselves the best chance to act in the best possible way towards others and being established in great inner stability and strength that we have. Among the different SAVER, the saver, which one would you care about most? Why
Oh,
would that be?
that's such a hard question, Tony, because I value all of them. I keep a daily journal on my iPad, mostly of medical issues that I check every day, like your blood sugar, blood pressure, weight, exercise, sleep. I've done that for 16 years. So when I go to the doctor, I pull out my iPad. He's like, you have 16 years of daily data? And I go, well, yeah, I want you to know what my baseline is, right? So I'm a big fan of scribing. I love exercise. I think probably for me, the most powerful one would have to be between affirmation, which I consider gratitude, and visualization, which I consider manifesting. Manifesting is so powerful in my life, and it's why my visualization board is so big for me. I could tell you 10 different stories of things that have come true in my life that you're like, there's no way that you could have manifested that, right? I mean, incredible things that happen within 90 days of me putting it on my board. So I think one of the things that's so powerful about the work you do and the book that you're writing is the fact that oftentimes people think caring for yourself is selfish. My wife's a trauma nurse. She's one of the most caring people that, you'll ever meet on the planet. But for her to care for herself is a real chore. She has devoted her life for caring for her brothers and sisters, her mother, her husband, her kids, her nieces and nephews. And so when I said, well, you need to care for yourself, she's, no, that's selfish. And I said, well, that's a broken concept that society is draped over you. It's not selfish. It's mandatory. It's necessary. We have to care for ourselves so we can be a better selves for other people. And so that's why I think this book that you're writing is so important, because we have to give people permission to care for themselves. We have to say, this is okay. And this is not a nice to have. It's a mandatory to have. And so, teaching people how to do it, as surprising as that is really foreign to a lot of people.
Really beautiful. I sometimes say that selfishness is thinking, I matter, you don't. And reality of caring for oneself is I matter too. And in order for me to be able to care about you, I need to have the strength, the energy, the clarity in order to do it. So this is really, we are completely on the same wavelengths, Dwayne. It's wonderful. You're writing, you're caring. And also about the, compassion, because some people ask me, why didn't you call it the power of compassion? And I said that caring is not just for people who are demanding or requiring our compassion. It can be for friends who are doing well, for family, for success, even people who are successful. You can care also about them. So I feel like caring also encompasses compassion and emotions and feeling, and is more than that at the same time.
I would agree with you totally. I think oftentimes, especially in an employment situation, a corporate setting, people tend to hide their true feelings because they think they have to be a certain way. And we're all humans. We all have emotions. We all have tendencies to have good days and bad days and so on. I think good leaders give people permission to be vulnerable and to be scared and to be in fear, and then help them lead that way out. And the best way to do that is by modeling it, right? My staff will probably see me in tears twice a year, usually at our annual conference called Epic, because I want them to know something that's so deeply personal for me, right? And the reality is, we're just as scared as everybody else. And we have worries and fears and problems with our families and everything else. The more you're vulnerable about that, the more it gives permission to people to be themselves and go, hey, our CEO is more like me than he's not. And the problem we have today is there's this whole impact of alienation where we segregate people by power, position, title. And, that's not going to create a peaceful world, a humane world when we segregate people like that.
Beautiful. Say for someone who has no routine, no special habits, what one habit they should start tomorrow?
Oh, well, I think scribing, and again, I'm pivoting off this personal experience of this young man who was just so lost with his health and his sleep and, just even thinking clearly. I said, well, just write down what you're doing. What are you eating? When do you go to bed? What kind of food are you putting in your body? What's your exercise? How many steps do you get a day? How much deep sleep are you getting, which I think is foundational for, cell replacement and detoxing of zombie cells. I mean, what are the things that you're doing? Just be conscious about it. Just write it down, right? Look at your habits, and your habits will become your realities, right? I mean, this young man was stopping off at a fast food place every night and then eating at 8 o'clock at night. I said, just don't do that. Just go home and cook a healthy meal. So, I mean, it's dramatic about if you just started being conscious about what you do. But to do that, you have to write it. And then you can reflect back and, well, these are my old habits that I don't want to get back into. These were catastrophic. So I think really journaling about your behaviors is life-changing.
Being conscious, it's so beautiful, because we are wired to care anyway. We care about each other. The human life and human evolution has evolved us to give us this caring because it gives us strength of togetherness. When one cares, oxytocin increases in the body, the parasympathetic system calms the heart and the breathing. One has this dopamine, which encourages us to care again. But this is also instinctual caring, which happens in, genetically and localized way. But sometimes too much caring in that direction becomes performance rather than actual, as we say, conscious caring. So I appreciate very much your journaling, because what it does is to bring to our attention, what are we doing? Am I aware? Am I conscious of my life, of what I'm doing? So it's really beautiful. Do you want to say something more about that?
Well, I think the body is an amazing machine. It's really amazing. I know you have intense education and knowledge about this, but it's really hard to kill a healthy body. It's really hard. But we do our darndest to try to kill it every day through a variety of things. And it's amazing how your body wants to snap back and balance if you allow it to. And so I think one of the issues that we have stop being at war with ourselves, whether that's our conscious self, whether that's our physical self, and get into harmony with your mind and your body. I mean, that's one of the beautiful things about meditation, right? It provides harmony in your body. It allows you to go beyond the physical manifestation of the things that your body is doing. It takes you to a blissful place. And so I would just say, just give your body a break, man. I mean, I wake up I was in the shower this morning, and it sounds silly, but I just said, hey, I want to thank you for, I was telling my body, I want to thank you for all the stuff I put you through for the last 67 years. You've really hung in there. So thank you, just being gratitude. And so it sounds silly, but you think of all the things you put your body through physically and mentally, and it's there with you every day. And so you got to give it a break.
When you have your morning routine practice, whatever it is, journaling or
Right.
showering or whatever, uh, do you ever think like, what am I going to care about today?
Yeah. I think, coming up in the business world, I always wanted to connect myself with powerful people or successful people or wealthy people and so on. So you chase a lot of these people which may not be in the rhythm of your own psyche or success or what you think is valuable. And a lot of these people that maybe are successful, in my opinion, were toxic. So there was a lot of toxicity that I was bringing into my world because I thought it was the right connection for me from a business standpoint. Now I'm very clear on who I want to associate with, who I want to be in my world. In fact, I have a practice that sounds kind of silly. On my starting on my 40th birthday, my 50th birthday, my 60th birthday, and eventually my 70th birthday, I make a list of all the people I hang out with. And I write, if there's a T by their name, they're toxic. And I'm like, I'm not going to have them in my life anymore. Because when you invite toxicity in your life, it's not good for our psyche. And so one of the things that I try to do is minimize the drama and toxicity in my life. And that usually stems from certain people that believe those are things that they value. And so that's made a huge, huge difference in my life by eliminating some of those. And, some of those people may even be relatives. Some of those people may be your friend from third grade. But at some point, you obviously you have to do it with a caring and compassionate mindset. But this is about self-care and caring for yourself.
That's wonderful because caring includes also how to know when not to care about certain things, such as negativity. People have their minds going on. Sometimes people care and they feel, oh, I don't get the response that I need to or that I expected. And one has to know how to do one's best, but not be attached to the results and to how people respond, because people have their own problems. They are in their own storms sometimes, and they don't see things in the same way. And that is why practices such as transcending, being established in the self, transcendental meditation, and silence are foundational for caring for the mind that cares for others. And maybe we can move into longevity research, because you have looked into that. Science shows that caring and social connection are core factors and impact lifespan, rivaling even diet and exercise.
Yeah.
Loneliness shortens life. And so both science and traditional wisdom agree that caring is key to longer life, living longer, physically and spiritually. So, where does caring rank among longevity factors, Dwayne?
Well, I think it's high. I think both caring for yourself and caring for others. I mean, I'm making a documentary right now where I'm interviewing 100 100-year-olds. Okay, and it's never been done before. And these people have really quite a unique perspective on life, right? Having looked back to 100 years. And one of the things that is foundational for aging is your community, is your relationships, right? I mean, the Harvard study, which is the longest aging study in man, said that, if you have a healthy partnership at the age of 50, you can add 7 years to your life. So your community that you hang around with, that's why the toxic people is so important to me, really make up your psyche, the 3 or 4 closest people that you're around. So for these people, their community, and by community, I just don't mean the friends. I mean people that are there for you, that you can call at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, hey, I have a flat tire. Can you come pick me up? So really an investment in people that is, that goes to the core of your book, the caring aspect of things. But I found a couple other things with people that are 100 years old that I call my 4 Ps. So people, that's the community that makes up around you, and obviously no toxicity. The perspective that people have in life, the balance that they have in life with no drama, and then the perseverance that they have, that bad things are always going to happen in everyone's life. You just have to get through them, right? There's light at the other end of the tunnel. And then purpose, which is so incredibly important for people. So those are my 4 Ps that I've found. I didn't make them up. This is what I got through speaking to these 100-year-olds. That is incredibly motivating for me. I'll tell you a quick story. I interviewed this one gentleman who was a bomber pilot in World War II, and he was a farmer, and he went into the Army Air Corps, and they said, can you fly a plane? He goes, I can do any machine because I've driven tractors. No, he's never been in an airplane in his life. So they put him through pilot training, which was about 6 months. Before he turned 19, he was flying over Normandy into Germany to do his first bombing raid, and they made him a captain. They liked him so much. So he's in charge of this crew of 6, this bombing raid, gets halfway over France, takes a missile through his right wing. And the co-pilot says, oh, we have to turn around. He goes, no, plane's flying fine. We're gonna go drop our bombs. So he keeps going, flies over Berlin, drops the bomb, takes a missile through the second wing. The co-pilot says, oh, we gotta crash land. He goes, no, it's driving fine. We're gonna make it back to England. Gets back to France, takes a second bomb through his right wing. So now he's got 2 holes in the right wing, 1 hole in the left wing. And the co-pilot says, we have to crash land. He goes, no, I think I can make it. All the time, perseverance and perspective, right? And everyone around him is freaking out. Crash lands his plane in England. And I said, oh, geez, weren't you terrified? Weren't you scared? Weren't you angry? He goes, no, the only thing that upset me is they told me it'd take me 2 weeks to get my plane back up in the air.
Oh.
So, these people have seen it all, have been, and so you have to have perspective and perseverance in life to age well. And I fear the generation that's coming up is not going to have that same perspective and perseverance.
Yeah, our generation has loneliness as a big problem. Almost 50% of people, I read in one study in the United States, have an experience of being lonely, being in solitude. And this is where also caring can be very, very helpful. Not only that you wait for people to care for you, but when you care for others or you care for situation in a proper way, you expand yourself and you connect. So, the subtitle of the book is Who Cares, Why It Matters, and How Conscious Caring creates fulfilling and connected life. And that is really a solution. Caring is a solution also to the problem of loneliness and isolation.
Caring is incredible medicine. I know you know this, Tony. I was at a baseball game last night. I bumped into a friend I hadn't seen in a few years. And about 10 years ago, he had a major cancer surgery, and they literally removed almost everything in his chest, his organs, to go in and repair some cancer. And the day he got out of the hospital, he came to my house for a dinner. And when he walked in the door, I said, you should be in the hospital. He was pale. He looked awful. I mean, I almost said, hey, take him back to the emergency room. And he goes, no, I want to do this dinner. And there was about 8 of us, and we have a wine cave, and we do these very special dinners in them. And there's a lot of community and love and focus and deep questions and so on. And the dinner lasted 3 hours, and I'm looking at him, and I see over the course of 3 hours this transformation of him, color coming back in his face. His face is starting to plump up. His energy's higher. He left like he'd been to a spa. I said the transformation that happened just by community and friendship and love and caring was so impactful that it treated you and your medical ailments in a way, in such a powerful way, I could not describe it. And he 100% agreed. He said, I felt like $1 million when I left there. So the power of loving and caring and showing thoughtfulness and engagement and human contact is so incredibly powerful. That's where we teach our caregivers when they go in and talking to a resident, just put a hand on a shoulder. The difference between that and standing back, dramatic love and care, because you feel that energy and that sincerity and that authenticity coming through, like, oh, I feel you, I see you, I have empathy for you.
That's
So
so beautiful.
yeah.
I mean, even putting hand on the shoulder, as you say, has been shown to activate the parasympathetic system that calms the whole physiology. So it's science. It's not just like feelings and emotions, which are most important, of course, but science in terms of not something psychological superficially, but psychological very deeply, emotionally very grounding and having effects on. That's why we're talking about longevity. Did you see this in community caring and longevity according to blue zones or in blue zones, and your experience, if you compare those? Did you study blue zones?
Oh yeah, I know Blue Zones. I've had interactions with them. I think there's a great study, but the sample of Blue Zones is fairly limited in terms of number of people. My experience has come really, I've done it for 41 years and tens of thousands of people. And it's by trial and error. And we incorporate a lot of non-traditional things in our caring. Things like Reiki, acupuncture, massage, meditation. But some of these have been around for 5,000 years. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of reflexology. It's been around 5,000 years, right? So these things have lasted the test of time. We look at penicillin that's been around less than 100 years and, oh my God, it's the miracle drug. Well, if somebody's been around 5,000 years, it's probably been proven a few times, right? I mean, more than the GLP-1. So I mean, we have to resort back to these things that may not be mainstream science, but certainly have data and foundational experience behind them that leads us to some great outcomes.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's full of giving hope and understanding, because one thing is the intellectual do's and don'ts, and you should persevere and you should do that and what you do that. And the other is, how do I do it? How do I get to a point where I can persevere if I'm feeling anxious or depressed or lonely? I don't feel the urge to do it. And that is because our attention is on the outside and always counting on elements from the environment alone to encourage us or inspire us, whereas the true power is from within. And that's what we're talking about. So all of these are actual techniques, and transcending, for example. To transcend means to go beyond. And that's what, as you know, we teach transcendental meditation, which allows us to dive deep into that ocean of the mind and get the resources from within, remove the stresses and strains. And this is how we can have perseverance. And the purpose, we talked about purpose as very important. The purpose of life is to be more, to become more. And becoming more is expanding one's awareness, expanding one's consciousness. So, in the retrospect of what we just said, journaling, for example, is being aware of what you do, not doing it just instinctively based on stress and strain or what you heard on the news or what you have been advertised to hear or to do, but based on how you connect with yourself, with your inner being. Take a step back. And so there are these simple techniques that actually help us. It's not just some kind of a moral idea that we're talking about. You should, you shouldn't, and you should feel guilty if you don't care this way or that way. Actually, I guess, Dwayne, you would agree, we're not asking anyone to care more. We're asking them really to care better and to be balanced and to have understanding of the importance of caring from the small circle within, like a spiral, and then the ability to care and to achieve things in the outside grow and expand.
Totally agree with you. I think we live in a Jiffy Lube world of quick fixes, right? They give me the pill or the shot that's going to make everything better. And the real truth lies in the work. And it's not hard work, it's things that we know instinctively how to do. But we got to bring ourselves to this level of consciousness that we can do the things that are great for our bodies and get on a frequency that's going to bring us the things that we want and deserve in life. And to get on that frequency, you really have to be in tune with where your mind and body is at.
Beautiful. We covered so many wonderful angles, and I know your book is so rich of knowledge and experience. And of course, we hope everybody gets to look at it and read it.
Thank you.
And we look forward to talking more. There are so many topics. But what would you, let's say, tell every 50-year-old to do today for a longer, better life?
Well, I think we've covered a lot of things, but again, I think one of the things is not to be selfish, but to look at yourself just like you maintain your car or your house, right? But you don't want it to deteriorate and go to rot. Think of yourself as one of the things of your possessions. This is not a selfish act. This is a mandatory act for you to be your best self and be your best self to the people you love and care about. So start caring about yourself, start journaling, start scribing, start looking at the things that you do that hurt yourself. And you can have an incredible life if you believe in yourself and you take care of this body that so badly wants to work in harmony for you.
That's wonderful. If you drive a car and then it runs out of fuel, it's not selfish that the car requires to add
No.
fuel to it.
No, not at all.
It is absolutely necessary. It's part of the mechanics of life, the mechanics of living. It's wonderful to have been with you, Dwayne. I look forward to more discussions. Thank you for being on Depths Over Noise. And we have been quite a bit into depths over just surface ripples, but go to the depths of the ocean of being, understand that physiologically, mentally, spiritually, and in every way, we can care in ways that are giving us health and happiness, connectedness to others, well-being for ourselves, and actually spread this as ripples of well-being even in society. We need this at this time more than ever, but for always, caring has been a power of life, a power of togetherness that allows us to achieve much more than any individual, separate, isolated individual can do. Thank you, Dwayne. A joy to be with you.
Thank you so much.
We have just been with Dwayne Clark, a man who has spent 41 years caring at scale for seniors and who has paid attention to what he saw. Let me share 3 things from his work and his life that landed most deeply. The first is the medical crisis that turned his own life around. 15 years ago, Dwayne's body said enough. He had to reckon with whether he was living consciously. He restructured everything. He rarely takes meetings now before 10 in the morning. He meditates daily. He uses transcendental meditation. He has built into the rhythm of his days the kind of inner work most executives claim they do not have time for. And it has rippled into the people around him. That is what happens when a person becomes conscious of what they are doing to themselves. The second is what he has learned from the inside of his profession about family caregivers. He has seen the firstborn daughter caring for her elderly mother literally die before her mother does. That is a sentence worth pausing on. The burden should never fall on one person. Respite is not a luxury. That is a broken concept that society draped over you. It is not selfish. It is mandatory. The third is what he has seen over and over about the medicine of community. That is the parasympathetic nervous system responding to real human connection. And from his interviews with more than 40 centenarians on camera, Dwayne has distilled 4 factors that consistently appear: people, community, perspective, perseverance, and purpose. The meaning that pulls a life forward. 3 things then that I take from Dwayne's conversation into my own work on caring. First, the non-negotiable nature of self-care. The Power of Caring book argues that caring sustained over time requires an inner ground that most people are never taught how to find. Dwayne has watched professionally what happens when that argument is ignored. Caregivers dying before their patients. Resentment replacing love, bodies giving out before souls do. His correction to his own life. It is not selfish, it is mandatory, is the same correction the book is trying to make at scale. Second, the 4 Ps are a longevity framework that maps directly onto conscious caring. People, perspective, perseverance, purpose. These are not soft virtues. They are the variables that in tens of thousands of senior lives Dwayne has personally observed. They are also what the Power of Caring book argues, are produced by caring done from a settled inner ground. And third, the practical defense of ancient practices. Dwayne made a point I want to amplify. Acupuncture, meditation, Ayurveda, these are practices that have outlasted the test of time. Transcendental meditation has been shown to rejuvenate the mind and body with positive effects on the aging process. Dwayne compared the ancient approaches to penicillin, which has been around less than 100 years. Practices refined over thousands of years deserve more respect than we currently give it. 40 years of running senior communities has confirmed for him what the contemplative traditions have always known. The Power of Caring argues the same convergence. To everyone listening, Dwayne said something I want to leave you with. He told us that he stood in his shower that morning, 67 years old, and thanked his own body. That is one of the simplest, most beautiful expressions of caring for oneself. Begin there. The body that has carried you this far deserves it. Dwayne, thank you for your work, for the 80,000 seniors whose final years have been shaped by what you built, and for modeling in your own life that caring at scale is only sustainable when the caring begins at home, in the body, every day.